My family booked a cabin for everyone but me. That's how I found out I wasn't part of everyone. The message came in a group chat I wasn't supposed to see. My brother sent a photo of the reservation, all their names listed, mine missing. I stared at the screen, waiting for someone to say it was a mistake, a joke, anything. Instead, my mom texted me separately. "There's no Wi-Fi anyway, Julia. You wouldn't like it." The words hit harder than I expected. No Wi-Fi. As if my need for connection was only digital, as if my absence could be explained away by a lack of internet. I tried to laugh it off, but the silence in my apartment pressed in. I scrolled through old photos, family dinners, birthdays, holidays, searching for proof that I belonged, that I hadn't always been the extra. The evidence was thin. My siblings grinned in every frame, arms slung over each other's shoulders. I was there, but always at the edge, half in, half out. I called my mom. She answered on the second ring, her voice bright. "Hey, Jules. What's up?" I asked about the trip. She hesitated, then said, "We thought you'd be busy with classes. And, you love your routines." I didn't argue. I hung up before I could say something I'd regret. The next day, I watched them leave through the apartment window. My dad loaded bags into the car. My sister laughed about something I couldn't hear. My brother juggled snacks and pillows. I waited for someone to look up, to wave, to notice I was missing. No one did. I spent the first night alone, trying to convince myself I liked the quiet. I ordered takeout, watched a show I'd seen a dozen times, scrolled through social media. Every post from my family stung, a blurry photo of the cabin, a video of my siblings playing cards, a group selfie with my mom's caption, "Family time." I wanted to comment to remind them I was still here, but I closed the app instead. The city felt emptier than usual. I walked to the corner store, bought snacks I didn't need, lingered in the aisles just to hear other people's voices. At home, I tried to study, but the words blurred together. I called a friend, but she was busy. I called another, but he didn't pick up. I was left with my own thoughts, circling the same questions. Was I always this easy to forget? Did I do something wrong? Or was this just how families worked? Sometimes you're in, sometimes you're out? By the third day, the silence became something else. Not just absence, but a kind of freedom. No one expected anything from me. I could eat breakfast at noon, leave dishes in the sink, listen to music as loud as I wanted. I wondered if my family noticed the difference, if they missed me at all. I started writing a list of things I wanted to do, stuff I'd put off because I was always too busy, too tired, too surrounded. I signed up for a pottery class. I went to a movie alone. I sat in the park and watched strangers walk their dogs, kids chase pigeons, couples argue and make up. The city was full of people who didn't know me, didn't expect anything. For the first time, that felt like an opportunity, not a punishment. But every night, when I turned off the lights, the old questions crept back in. I replayed my mom's words. "There's no Wi-Fi anyway." I wondered if she really believed that was enough to keep me away, or if it was just easier than admitting the truth. Maybe I was the one who drifted first, who made it easy for them to leave me out. The weeks stretched ahead, empty and uncertain. I didn't know what I wanted from my family. An apology, an explanation, an invitation. Maybe I just wanted to know I mattered. That even without Wi-Fi, without convenience, without expectation, they would have chosen me. I checked my phone one last time before bed. No new messages. No missed calls. Just the quiet hum of the city outside, and the realization that for now I was on my own. And maybe, just maybe, that was where I needed to start. The days blurred, but not in the way they used to when my schedule was packed with classes and family obligations. Now, each hour felt like a weight in my hands, heavy and unfamiliar. I woke up late, the apartment quiet except for the distant sounds of traffic and the occasional neighbor's footsteps in the hall. I tried to fill the silence with music, but every song seemed to echo the same question. What do you do when the people who are supposed to include you forget you exist? I went to the pottery class I'd signed up for, not sure what to expect. The studio was small, tucked between a bakery and a laundromat, the air thick with the scent of clay and coffee. The instructor, a woman named Marta, greeted me with a nod and handed me a lump of cool gray earth. "Just let your hands do the work," she said. I pressed my fingers into the clay, shaping it without any plan. Around me, strangers focused on their own projects, their faces relaxed, their conversations soft and easy. No one asked about my family. No one asked why I was there alone. I found comfort in the anonymity. After class, I walked through the city, letting my feet decide where to go. I ended up at a bookstore I hadn't visited in years. I wandered the aisles, running my fingers over spines, picking up novels I'd meant to read but never had the time for. I bought one just because I could. On the way home, I stopped for coffee, sitting by the window and watching people hurry past, each of them absorbed in their own lives. I wondered if any of them felt as invisible as I did. At home, I tried calling my mom again. She didn't answer. I left a message, my voice tight. "Hope you're having a good time. Let me know when you're back." I didn't mention the cabin, or how it felt to be left behind. I didn't want to sound needy. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of thinking I cared more about Wi-Fi than being with them. That evening, my sister posted a photo of the family around a campfire. My dad was telling a story, my brother was roasting marshmallows, and my mom was smiling at the camera, her arm around both of them. I stared at the image, searching for a sign that they missed me, that my absence was felt. There was nothing. Just happy faces, warm light, and the caption, "Best family trip ever." I tried to distract myself by reading the book I'd bought, but the words wouldn't stick. My mind kept returning to the photo, to the way my family looked complete without me. I wondered if I'd ever really belonged, or if I'd just been filling a space that didn't matter when I was gone. The next day, I met up with a friend from college, Emma, who'd texted me out of the blue. We hadn't seen each other in months, but she suggested lunch, and I agreed. Over sandwiches, she asked how I was doing. I hesitated, then told her the truth. "My family went on vacation without me," I said, trying to sound casual. She looked surprised. "Did they forget to invite you?" I shook my head. "No, they just didn't think I'd want to go. My mom said there's no Wi-Fi." Emma frowned. "That's rough. Are you okay?" I shrugged. "I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to figure out what to do with myself." Emma didn't offer advice or try to make me feel better. She just listened, nodding at the right moments, her presence steady and unhurried. When we finished eating, she hugged me tightly. "If you want to hang out, I'm around," she said. "You don't have to be alone." That night, I thought about what she'd said. I didn't have to be alone, but I didn't know how not to be. My family's absence felt like a hole I couldn't fill, no matter how many classes I took or books I read. Still, I made a list of things I wanted to try. Small things like baking bread, calling an old friend, volunteering at the animal shelter. I didn't know if any of it would help, but it was something to hold on to. I spent the next few days working through my list. Some things were easy, like baking bread, even if it didn't turn out right. Others were harder, like calling my dad, who answered but sounded distracted, telling me they'd be home soon. He didn't ask how I was. He didn't mention the cabin. I hung up feeling emptier than before. One evening, while volunteering at the animal shelter, I met a dog named Max. He was nervous, pacing his kennel, but when I sat down beside him, he pressed his nose against my hand. I stayed with him for an hour, talking softly, letting him get used to my presence. For the first time all week, I felt needed. I promised myself I'd come back. The city didn't feel so empty anymore. I started to notice the small kindnesses around me. A stranger holding the door, a barista remembering my order, a neighbor offering a smile in the elevator. These moments didn't fill the space my family had left, but they reminded me I wasn't completely alone. Still, every night I checked my phone, hoping for a message that never came. My family was still at the cabin, still together, still not thinking of me. I tried to convince myself it didn't matter, that I was better off finding my own way. But the ache lingered, quiet and persistent, a reminder that belonging isn't something you can force, no matter how much you want it. As the week drew on, I realized I had a choice. I could keep waiting for my family to reach out, or I could start building something of my own. I didn't know what that would look like yet, but for the first time I was willing to try. Julia's week alone was supposed to be a pause, a blank space she could fill as she liked. But as the days passed, the ache of exclusion settled deeper, sharper than she wanted to admit. She moved through her routines, pottery, volunteering, coffee runs, trying to convince herself that independence was enough. Still, every time she glanced at her phone, she hoped for a message from her family, some sign that they remembered her absence. On Wednesday, she found herself standing outside her childhood home. She hadn't planned to go there, but her feet carried her down old streets, past familiar corners, until she was staring at the house where she'd grown up. The windows were dark, the car gone. She pressed her palm to the gate, half expecting to hear laughter from inside, to see her siblings running through the yard. Instead, there was only silence, a reminder that she was on the outside now. She turned away before the neighbors could see her, before she had to explain why she was there. On the walk back, she thought about the years she'd spent trying to be the easy one, the daughter who didn't make trouble, who didn't ask for much. Maybe that was why they'd left her out. She'd made it simple for them to forget her. Later that afternoon, Julia met Emma for coffee again. Emma listened as Julia described the visit to her empty house, the hollow feeling it left behind. "You're allowed to be angry," Emma said, her voice gentle but firm. "You don't have to pretend this doesn't hurt." Julia nodded, but anger felt foreign, almost dangerous. She was used to swallowing disappointment, letting it settle quietly inside her. That night, Julia scrolled through her family's social media posts. Her brother had uploaded a video of everyone playing charades in the cabin's living room. Her mom was laughing, her dad acting out some wild gesture, her sister shrieking with laughter. Julia watched the clip on a loop, searching for a flicker of hesitation, a glance at the camera that said, "We wish Julia was here." There was nothing. Just joy, uncomplicated and complete. She set her phone down, frustration rising. She wanted to text her mom, to ask outright, "Why didn't you want me there?" But the words felt too raw, too exposed. Instead, she typed and deleted a dozen messages, none of them right. In the end, she sent nothing. The next day, Julia returned to the animal shelter. Max, the anxious dog, was waiting at the front of his kennel, tail thumping when he saw her. She took him outside, let him sniff the grass and bark at passing cars. With Max, there were no expectations, no history to navigate. He was just happy for her company. Julia found herself talking to him, telling him about the cabin, about the silence at home, about how hard it was to admit she felt left behind. As the afternoon faded, Julia sat on a bench, Max curled up at her feet. She realized she'd been waiting for her family to reach out, to fix the hurt they'd caused. But maybe that was another way of giving up control, of letting them decide her worth. She looked at Max, who had learned to trust her one visit at a time, and wondered if she could do the same for herself. That evening, Julia called Emma. "Can we go somewhere?" she asked. "Anywhere. I just need to get out of my head for a while." Emma agreed, and they spent the night wandering the city, ducking into bookstores and late-night diners, talking about everything except family. For a few hours, Julia felt lighter, the ache in her chest dulled by laughter and the comfort of being seen. When she got home, Julia found a message from her mom. It was short. "Hope you're doing okay. We'll be back Sunday." No apology, no explanation. Julia stared at the words, her thumb hovering over the reply button. She wanted to say she wasn't okay, that being left out hurt more than she'd expected. But she also wanted to protect herself, to keep her vulnerability hidden. Instead, she typed, "I'm fine. See you soon." She hit send, the lie settling heavy in her stomach. As the week neared its end, Julia realized she couldn't keep waiting for her family to make things right. She had to decide what she wanted, what she needed, even if it meant stepping away from the people she loved most. The thought scared her, but it also felt like the beginning of something new. A chance to define herself on her own terms, not just as the daughter or the sister, but as Julia. She lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the cabin in the woods, the laughter she wasn't part of, and the life she was beginning to build for herself. For the first time, she wondered if being left behind might be an invitation. Not to disappear, but to finally step forward. The final days before her family's return arrived with a strange sense of anticipation. Julia no longer checked her phone every hour, but the urge lingered, a quiet pulse beneath her new routines. She spent her Saturday at the animal shelter, helping with the morning feeding and walking Max around the block. The volunteers greeted her by name now. She felt a flicker of belonging, something she'd craved all week, something she'd always hoped to find at home. That afternoon, Julia met Emma in the park, both of them carrying coffee and pastries. They sat on a bench, watching children play and cyclists weave through the crowd. Julia told Emma about the message from her mom, about the way she'd replied with a lie because the truth felt too vulnerable. Emma listened, patient as ever, then asked, "What do you want to say to them?" Julia hesitated. The answer was tangled, but it was there, beneath the hurt and pride. "I want to tell them it hurt. That I wanted to be included, even if there was no Wi-Fi, even if I complained about it. I wanted to matter enough for them to ask." Emma nodded, her gaze steady. "You deserve that." The words echoed in Julia's mind as she walked home. She thought about all the time she'd made herself small to keep the peace, how she'd avoided conflict by pretending not to care. Maybe her family believed she liked being left alone. Maybe she'd taught them that, without meaning to. That evening, Julia sat at her kitchen table, her phone in front of her. She opened the family group chat and stared at the blinking cursor. Her heart thudded. She typed, erased, typed again. Finally, she wrote, "I know you're all having a great time. I just wanted you to know it hurt to be left out. I would have liked to be there, even if it meant no Wi-Fi." She hovered over the send button, fear prickling at her skin. But she pressed it anyway. The message went out into the silence, and Julia set her phone down, her hands shaking. The response didn't come right away. She tried to distract herself, folded laundry, washed dishes, played with Max at the shelter. But her mind kept circling back to her message, to the risk she'd taken by speaking up. That night, her phone buzzed. First her brother, then her sister, then her dad. Each message was different, but the theme was the same. They hadn't realized how much it would hurt her. They'd thought she'd be happier in the city, that she wouldn't want to be disconnected. Her mom's reply came last. "I'm sorry, Julia. I should have asked. I didn't mean to make you feel left out. I love you." Julia read the words over and over. Relief mixed with a strange, raw ache. The apology didn't erase the week she'd spent alone, but it softened something inside her. She replied, "Thank you. I love you too." The next morning, Julia woke up lighter. She took Max for an early walk, the city waking up around them. She thought about how much had changed in just a few days. She'd learned to speak up, to risk being honest about what she needed. She'd found comfort in new places, in unexpected friendships, in the quiet company of a nervous dog. When Emma called to check in, Julia smiled. "I think I'm going to be okay," she said. "It still hurts, but I'm not alone." Emma laughed. "You never were." As Sunday approached, Julia prepared herself for her family's return. She didn't know exactly what would happen, or how things would feel when she saw them again. But she knew she was different now, stronger, more willing to be seen, less afraid of taking up space. That night, Julia sat by her window, phone silent in her lap, and let herself hope. Not just for reconciliation, but for a future where she could ask for what she needed and trust that she mattered. For the first time in a long while, she believed it was possible. Julia stood at her apartment window on Sunday morning, watching the city move beneath her. The week had changed her in ways she hadn't expected. She felt the ache of exclusion, but also the quiet pride of having faced it and spoken her truth. She made her coffee and sat at the kitchen table, waiting for the inevitable knock on her door. When it came, she hesitated before opening it, heart pounding, unsure what she would find on the other side. Her family stood in the hallway, arms full of bags and souvenirs from the trip. Her mother's eyes searched Julia's face, uncertain. For a moment no one spoke. Then her brother stepped forward, holding out a small hand-carved wooden dog. "We saw this and thought of you," he said, his voice tentative. Julia took it, feeling the rough edges with her thumb, and nodded. "Thanks," she said quietly. They came inside, filling the apartment with the familiar noise she'd missed. Her sister launched into stories about the cabin. The leaky roof, the card games, the way Dad burned the marshmallows. Julia listened, laughing in the right places, but she felt the distance between them, the gap that a single apology couldn't quite bridge. Her mother hovered near the counter, watching her, waiting. Finally, her mom spoke. "Julia, I'm sorry. I should have asked you. I thought you'd be happier here, but I was wrong." Julia looked at her, searching for resentment, but found only exhaustion and a kind of hope. "I wanted to be with you," Julia said. "Even if I complained about the Wi-Fi, I wanted to be there." Her mother nodded, eyes shining. "We missed you." It wasn't the same. The words hung in the air, fragile but real. Julia felt something inside her shift. A loosening, a letting go. She realized she didn't need her family to be perfect. She needed them to see her, to listen, to try. They spent the afternoon together, sharing stories and awkward laughter, slowly rebuilding what had been shaken. Her dad asked about her week, genuinely curious. Julia told them about the pottery class, about Max at the shelter, about Emma and the late-night walks. Her siblings listened, surprised and interested, seeing her in a new light. As evening fell, her family prepared to leave. Her mother hugged her tightly, whispering, "Next time you're coming with us. No excuses." Julia smiled, hugging her back. "I'll hold you to that." After they left, the apartment felt different, still quiet, but no longer empty. Julia sat with Max, the wooden dog on the table beside her, and thought about everything she'd learned. She knew the pain of being left out wouldn't vanish overnight, but she also knew she was stronger than she'd believed. She could speak up, reach out, and build connections that mattered. Julia texted Emma, thanking her for being there, and made plans to meet again. She signed up for another pottery class, scheduled more shifts at the shelter, and started a list of things she wanted to try, not because she was lonely, but because she was curious about what else life could offer. Her family's absence had forced her to see herself differently. She was not just the quiet daughter, the one easy to overlook. She was someone who could endure loneliness, confront it, and emerge changed. She was someone who could forgive and ask for what she needed. As she turned off the lights that night, Julia felt a quiet certainty settle in her chest. She belonged, not just to her family, but to herself. And that, she realized, was enough.